All right, welcome on in. How's everything doing? What are we doing tonight, Canadian?
Going over another character spotlight, and this one is on another of the female Jedi Masters.
Yep.
Continuing that trend.
Another member of the council.
Another council member too. We're slowly ticking them off. We're pretty. I think we're pretty far through. I think, right?
Yeah,
at least.
I mean, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but there does seem to be about 350 council members. Like there seems to be a lot of Jedi.
Yeah. I mean, they all look the same too, because they're all cousins or nephews or nieces. The ex-person. So we'll just take over.
oh, Uncle Lucas, get Daddy Lucas. He just liked replacing people. Seemed to be the certain kind of people he liked replacing, but he sure liked replacing people.
It's just a rotation. It's just a schedule. They're rotating.
Yeah.
I'm
sure.
We'll get to talk to her, and basically what we're talking about, and we'll get into it, is her cousin replaced her. The old, they look a lot alike, and we'll just switcheroo them. I was watching this video, and they were just kind of making fun of it a little bit. It wasn't a full video, but it was about some of the stereotypes in Star Wars and how even back then it was pretty obvious there were stereotypes, and there were people going, that's weird. The greedy ones sound kind of ethnic and the other ones sound kind of other ethnic. And I was like, yeah. And I was actually writing what I'm about to do, the little minute video I do. I was actually writing it out, getting ready to do it. And in that, I know that he switched this one around. And there's another, we'll say African-American Jedi. He switched around too. And there's like another one. And I was like, you're looking bad for you, Daddy Lucas. I don't want to jump on the train, but you made some interesting decisions over the years.
Mr. Jackson, Mr. Windu stayed the same.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So let's see what Adi Gallia or Leia. I've had about 3 different pronunciations I've heard people say.
Oh, yeah.
So I actually watched an episode of the Clone Wars and waited for the guy to go, Adi Gallia comes to save the day. And I just listened to what he said, and I just tried to repeat that. Because I was like, man, there's a lot of different pronunciations she's had. Yep. All right, so let's go. Let's see what the videos does.
Adi Gallia was a Theolothian Jedi Master and council member born on Coruscant into a prominent diplomatic family. Gallia was a well-rounded Jedi with proficiency in both diplomacy and combat. She was known for her expertise in the use of Form 5, and she was also a skilled starfighter pilot. During the Clone Wars, she served as a Jedi General and participated in several important missions alongside the Republic forces. She would join a team of Jedi led by Obi-Wan Kenobi to rescue Jedi Eth Koth from the clutches of General Grievous. They engaged in a thrilling battle with Grievous and his forces, ultimately succeeding in rescuing the Jedi Eth Koth. Gallia also played a crucial role in the mission to rescue Jedi Master Even Peel, who was held captive in the high-security prison, the Citadel. Alongside Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and other Jedi, she confronted numerous challenges, battled enemy forces, and although ultimately Even Peel would die, she was successful in rescuing him.
All right. So,
I forgot that she saved Peel.
Yep.
Oh, it's up 2 lightsabers. What's happening? Yeah, so that is our girl.
Yeah, the starfighter pilot. Another one along with Plo Koon and Sassatin. Basically the best of the starfighter pilots in the Jedi Order.
Another general, right?
And our general. Another one. And she's one of the... It was interesting. She was basically... Other than Even Peel, she was one of the only ones to die during the Clone Wars itself of the Council.
Oh, right.
Her, Peel, and... Koth. Didn't Koth? Yeah, Koth died. We talked about him. So the legends of the canon mix it up.
Of all the people that died, though, she earned that death. That was a brutal and terrible death.
Yes.
It was a great lightsaber battle. I was just watching that earlier.
Yeah. It's weird. I like a lot of these characters, but it is weird what they did. And I know that the Jedi I looked at, like, especially back then, they were looking at heroes. But at some point, it almost makes me giggle and laugh because I know when I start to read about them and learn more and deep dive, so I can try to do those little shorts and everything. all of them were a once in a lifetime swordsman or swords lady. There were also amazing top of the list Jedi fighter pilots. All of them died very fast and very easy to like 6 clones or like 2 or 1 trailing behind. And it's like throughout all the cartoons and the shows, they could take on hundreds of people at once, except for after Order 66. And suddenly, you know, they get taken out by 2 clones. And I know it was, they didn't expect it coming, but like, except for some of the Jedis who did expect it coming, because they're like, oh, I sent something. And then they would like jump out of the way. And it's just a weird thing that they did where they're like all super powered, except for the plot armor, except when they don't need to be super powered. They were
maybe it was some day that that Palpatine knew that was coming, that was just low in force for the day, right? So
it's like the Sunday, take it off the day off work, you know.
He made sure they were ordered to not sleep for a week, and then like you must keep going, keep pushing, and then on the 7th day you can rest, and then that's when he attacked them all.
It was like their Achilles heel.
Yeah, not this poor Jedi though. She died going out fighting. But then again, when we talk about that, that's also questions about that too. She did have an amazing fight with General Grievous, which she held her own, no problem. As we've talked about several times, that also irritates me because General Grievous, they can't figure out what they want from him. He's either an amazing Jedi killer or he's a bumbling idiot. They can't seem to figure out what they want.
It's funny about that with her, because when we talk about the comics later with her, there is, because they retconned how she died because of the Clone Wars TV show. How she dies in Legends, she's fighting Grievous, and he pulls like a switcheroo on her and kills her. But then we see her fight Grievous in the Clone Wars animated series, and she's holding off against him a couple
of times.
Yeah, well, in the comics, we'll see does not last more than like a couple of seconds. But something interesting that I found about the character I didn't think of before was that her family was like high diplomats, like in the Senate and all that. Like, so she wasn't like some random off in the village on her home planet taken from her family or whatever. No, her family was on Coruscant, and presumably while she was in the temple, her parents were still in the Senate, could have probably come and visited her.
Oh.
There was no mention of that, which would have been interesting.
Yeah, it was like you say, it was interesting because when I was reading and it was like reading like, you know, Star Wars stuff, there was always this alluding to in a roundabout way that she was considered a very good diplomat. She was sent to like handle things. And there was like, oh, it's because of where she came from. It's because of who her family is, her upbringing, everything else. And I'm thinking that has nothing to what? Because she's supposed to be
keeping in contact in some way.
Yeah, you're not supposed to keep in contact. They steal you as a baby, and you're not supposed to. What is her family being diplomats have anything to do with her diplomatic?
They're very good at being diplomats. They already get that custody, that weekend custody, right? For because like a lot of stuff is so interesting with especially with these characters that were from the Phantom Menace. We don't know a lot, even in Legends, about their past. Like, she has like a pretty solid, especially in Legends, a solid relationship with Windu, almost as if they were like students together or like master apprentice. But we don't know anything about that.
I'm going to let's see here. I don't remember how to do this because we don't do this very often anymore. Share screen. Okay, we don't share screen anymore, so I'm going to share this real quick. I don't even know if it's working. Can you guys see that? Is that working? Probably not. It says I am, but I don't know if I am.
Is he lagging for you, Kajun?
And it won't let me go back to StreamYard.
So it's not just me.
It's not just you.
So I'm just gonna say forget it. You can look up her. You can look up her picture. I just want to say that she does have little. I don't know what you call those things.
It looks like a jellyfish.
Tentacles.
Yes. I mean, we'll see it when we go through the slides, what she looks like. But she has some might say dreadlocks certain ways, but again, we're not going to call out Daddy Lucas for some of his.
I really thought they were tentacles.
Yeah, they look like jellyfish and tentacles to me.
Yeah. And like you said, she was She was born in Coruscant, force sensitive. Her family were pretty high in people. And she was just, I guess, I don't know how to say other than she was just a solid Jedi. They put her on the council. They sent her to help rescue people because she was just an all-around Jedi. Like, I don't think you would say that she's like the best sword person in the whole force or the best flyer, but she was really good at all of it. So they sent her and stuff. So that's why she went for 2 separate rescue missions, and she was used differently in both. One, she was on the ground fighting General Grievous, as we said, and one she stayed up in the air the whole time, making cover. So yeah, she's just a pretty solid Jedi. And
Jack of all trades.
Didn't she take it? She got taken prisoner, right? By Grievous.
Yes.
Yeah, she was shortly, I think, right? Not
like not extended, yeah, but briefly, and then got broken out. But obviously, we should probably talk about then her death because obviously that fight was when Maul returned with Savage, and then Obi-Wan joins her, and they go off have a fight.
Yeah,
it's a good episode, by the way. That's a good
Savage, Savage. I thought it was cool because he had the double blade.
Yes,
and Maul had a single.
Yeah,
and then Kenobi brings out the double blades.
Mm-hmm. The duel, yeah.
Where does he get his second one? Whose is that?
Hers.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, okay. He takes Savage took the old screw the lightsaber technique. I'm going for wrestling, Greco-Roman wrestling, and headbutt charges her into a wall with his horns and impales her. And obviously, her facial reaction is like shock because no one was expecting that to happen.
Hey, listen, my face expression was probably shocked too because although those horns look cool, I was like, wait a minute, you can stab somebody with them? Like, of course you can, but wait a minute, that's an option?
Yeah, Maul probably saw that from afar. That's why he kept growing his horns out so he could just prepare.
He's like, I didn't even think about that. Let me get these things sharpened.
Yeah, and then Kenobi took her lightsaber to fight them off both, which That's
right, yeah, because it rolled out of her hand, and then he just went.
Force grabbed it, yeah.
Came to him.
And yeah, brutal death. Just so that now, obviously, this isn't a character we're talking about, but there's no way we're talking about her cousin because she's a very minor character. But the Jedi have some really solid nepotism because after she died, Adi Gallia, her cousin took over her spot on the council. And then she was the one that we saw in Revenge of the Sith died.
He did.
And she was the one that we saw in Order 66 on the speeder bike die. But I wanted to double check because I forgot to check this for her cousin. Did she become a master when she took the council role?
I want to say
I don't think she was a master before. I think they just gave it to her.
Oh, they just grandfathered her in.
She got grandfathered in because I don't think they wanted to deal with Anakin getting even more mad that someone who wasn't the master was on the council.
Not only did they make her one, they gave her spot.
Yeah,
she replaced her cousin on the council on the whole thing. They just said, "Hey, brush that off." And then sit right there. Y'all look a lot alike. We're not going to miss a thing. We might call you by the wrong name from time to time, but if you want to go ahead and take that third seat from the left, that's your cousins, and no one be the wiser. I also wanted to say, to give her credit, she it said in there that she was the first to start warning people pretty quick about the Trade Federation.
Yeah,
and how about the Trade Federation and how she knew instantly they were up to no good back when everybody else in the council was like, well, let's see what happens. You don't know. And she was like, yeah, no, they're shady. They're going to cause a problem here. We're about to go to war. And she was the first one to notice it. And I think that's probably still, we'll talk about some of her because she's much more interesting in obviously Legends than she's in canon because that's about the extent.
A lot of that Legends stuff comes from the comics. We'll be talking.
Yeah, and that goes back to in the Legends she has some runarounds with the underworld. She does a lot of other stuff that's a little more interesting, and it seemed like that might be some holdover that she knows about the shady stuff.
Mm-hmm.
can confirm her cousin assumed the position of Jedi Master when she was shortly, basically after her cousin died, Adi Gallia, she was given the rank of Jedi Master and then immediately given her seat. So they were trying to shove that under the rug.
Yeah, nothing to see here, folks. It's the same person.
What was the cousin's name?
It was, if I can pronounce this, because I don't remember this being pronounced anywhere. Stass. How does it pronounce it? Stass Allie. So not it's like Adi Gallia, but Stass Allie was her cousin that took over.
Allie, yeah, Llie, I think it was something like that.
Yeah.
And they look very, very similar.
The big difference you can tell is Stass Allie is a little more rounded face and younger looking than Adi Gallia. Adi Gallia is more like a pointed head.
She still has her baby face look, so we're good on that.
As you can tell by her being ushered into Jedi Master without probably.
Do you have a picture of them both together?
If we were prepared, even though 2 weeks in advance, I probably would have been more smart. This is so obviously here. 1 second, then. This is Adi Gallia, as we'll see shortly, and then
in the movies,
yes,
okay. I mean completely different. You know, it's clearly the cover up wasn't there. We got controversy here.
There you go.
So
yeah, just slightly younger is about all I could tell the difference. Honestly,
younger and rounder face, but yep,
definitely tentacles.
them tendrils, tentacles looking mighty similar.
All right, so I think that we'll do it for that part. Are we ready to go in the slides? Because I don't think there's much left to talk about her life. She's a well-rounded Jedi, obviously well-respected. They trusted her a lot of stuff. Kenobi used her like 3 times, so he usually only used Anakin. So he's got to respect somebody who used her that much. And when she went up against. That was the only thing, even I remember watching the show, the only thing that kind of was like surprising was that they did kind of have her there as like, hey, she's pretty good. She can get your back. She'll fight alongside you. And then she went down to, Savage, Maul's brother. And at that moment, they were making him, if you remember, they were making him a beast. He was killing Jedi left and right. And then suddenly from that point, it seemed like his arc started to change where he became a lot more subservient to his brother. He seemed to be pretty good, but he definitely wasn't like the beast he was making him out to be. And it seemed like after that he started losing a lot more and kind of be in the background. So it was kind of weird. Like they worked him up by having him kill a bunch of people, and then suddenly he just kind of was there more so than being that beast. Mm-hmm. Very similar to Grievous. He was like a beast, and then suddenly
we got to tone him down here. We got
to tone him down. We got to tone him down. All right. Well, let's just jump into these slides here. There you go. There's her tentacles or whatever you wanted to call them.
Tendrils, tentacles.
They look very soft. I don't mean to make them a sensual thing. They look very soft, very, very nice.
I'm sure if you asked to touch them, she would yell at you probably.
Oh, I would imagine that's very, very inappropriate. If I go, can I just touch them? Are they soft? They look like silk. What are those? Oh, I forgot to do my thing, man.
Oh, wow. Slacking.
Yeah. What am I doing?
Hello there.
All right. Got a character spotlight. Let's do it. Here we go.
So, for her being even a background character, has a lot of appearances across a lot of stuff. So, for movies, TVs, so episode 1 and 2, she appears. And she's also in Rise of Skywalker as a voice at the very end. She's one of the people that speaks. The 2003 Clone Wars, she only appears in chapter 21 or episode 21. But the Clone Wars in 2008, she does appear in a lot. So the Grievous intrigue and the is the one where she's fighting Grievous and gets captured, which is the Mist and Citadel rescue, and the rescue stuff with Evan Peel. The story arc she's in the most often here is season 4. So she appears through that mostly, and a bunch of the different smaller arcs. And then season 5 is where we see her die, and episode 1. Funny enough, she appears in episode 2. That comes out after that episode released after episode 1, where she dies in 1. Because of how Clone Wars is set up, the episodes aren't in chronological order; they are in their own weird order. So technically, she does show up after her death. And then at the end, in season 6, she shows up in the Vision along with a bunch of others we've talked about many times.
Yoda. Yeah.
Yoda's vision of a better time. Now, comics. Again, Dark Horse, when they had the license, used her and a bunch of the other Phantom Menace Jedi a lot. So her first appearance is issue 13 of the first Star Wars series. Issue 14 being her cover appearance. And she appears in a bunch of the story arcs there. Didn't highlight a bunch of it because she shows up as does some good action, says one-liner, and hangs out with the Jedi. Did highlight one of the story arcs with Aura Singh, though, because it's a really funny moment. Then Jedi sequences, so she appears in a bunch of one-shots and random story arcs like the Acts of War we talked about, Tales 13. Specifically, though, there's a thing called Starfighter Crossbones. It was a spin-off tie-in comic to the Starfighter games, where in the Jedi Starfighter game for PlayStation 2, she actually is the main character. Which is really interesting for a video game back then, where she was the one that helmed the first of the Jedi Starfighters.
Right.
And then in the Republic comics, she appears in 2 of the issues, as well as the Aayla Secura one-shot. And then Obsession 4 and 5, that was what was retconned by the Clone Wars, because that's where she fights and dies to Grievous. And in canon, very little, but she does appear in the Vision for issue 25 of Darth Vader. That's her first canon appearance.
Gotta get that first appearance.
First appearance. And then she shows up in a flashback for Tales from Vader's Castle 2 with Kenobi. Crimson Reign 3, a flashback. And then most recently, she showed up in issue 26 of Darth Vader's run as a flashback again, because not much you can do with a character that died during the Clone Wars.
Right.
So that's her first appearance there, named off to the side. And, I'd say not quite over the shoulder. She's off to the side, more or less.
It's almost over the shoulder, though. I'll almost give that the nod there, the bottom.
We haven't had that in a while, so.
Off to the side.
And then that's her first cover appearance. Now, to mention, you may notice something weird. She does have a red lightsaber. In these early times with Star Wars Dark Horse, they basically gave everyone random colors. They gave them whatever they wanted. So, as you can tell, what's his name? Evan Peel has like an indigo lightsaber, while Mace Windu has a blue one. I think they switched. They picked up the wrong lightsabers that day, probably.
How do you know Mace Windu has a blue one?
You know what?
You're not telling me this like 12-year-old bald-headed boy is supposed to be Mace Windu.
Sorry, that's Wace Bindu right there. But she had a red lightsaber, and in the there was a game, Jedi Star Wars.
What's up, Butters?
Ooh. And Jedi Power Battles, which came out with episode 1 as a video game, she had a red lightsaber there as well. And she continued to have a red lightsaber all the way up until episode 2 came out. And then that's when they started to give them all back the correct lightsaber colors.
Interesting.
So, yeah, really random tangent.
If I remember correctly, I think it went from like blood red, and they kind of started making it more of an orangish thing before they finally just gave her blue or whatever they ended up doing it.
As you'll see, I'm pretty sure she does go on to orange. So this is a great moment here from the Aura Singh arc where Aura Singh is like, "Oh, Adi Gallia, is it not? I've heard of your prowess as a Master Jedi." And it's like, "Oh, so you know me? Then I've heard of you too." And she just chucks this ginormous boulder at her and just smacks her right off the mic.
Nice.
It's a pretty fun moment there.
That's how you put a stop to that conversation. I'm going to throw a boulder at you.
Starfighter.
Uh-oh.
See Adi Gallia talking at the temple. Basically, she's referring to all the different... there was 3 different protagonists in the Starfighter game before her. So it's basically following them, but, you know.
I don't know who this guy on the cover is, but he's super interesting looking, like, for real.
Yeah, it's a weird one. He's the star pilot.
He's awesome looking. I like it. I like it a lot.
And then for the Obsession issue 4 and 5 was the one that got retconned that she was in, and you'll see why she was retconned because she dies again too. So she charges Grievous. They fight for a second, and then Grievous is like grabs her with his he detaches his other arm, grabs her with his third arm, pulls the other one out, and then stabs her with that. Not knowing that he has 4 arms, and then
I like it. I like where your head is, Grievous. Before they made you a bumbling moron, I like it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good book, that one.
Yes, the Obsession series is really good. We've talked about it with so many good characters. I got retconned as well. But Darth Vader, so issue 25, this is her first canon appearance in the Vision, on the far right there, with the blue lightsaber. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And then this was the flashback in the Vader's castle. Her on the bottom left there with Kenobi arriving at
over the shoulder.
Planet. Over the shoulder. This is definitely an over the shoulder.
Look at that over the shoulder right there. Nice.
Mm-hmm. And then her most recent appearance here is in this flashback. Nice. Can you find her? You can, based on the little tentacles.
Yeah.
Is on the far left there.
Based on her fuzzy silk-like tentacles, and now I want to touch and get my hand cut off, I'm sure. Oh.
And that would be her basic comic appearances. Like in the canon, there's not much. I cut out a lot because a lot of the Dark Horse, she is there in the background walking with them or fighting. Mm. Obviously, she's given a good role with that stuff, but we don't have all the time in the world to...
And every time she's in the council.
Yeah, in the council. Which, as you see here, her figures, she has 2.
Look at that lightsaber.
On the left, her first appearance, her first figure is
I don't have
one with the red lightsaber, which is hilarious still. And then they have the saga set on the right, so it's her at the council with Sassa 10 and Anakin.
Yeah, because she was there. She was there during the Anakin trial, or the conversation, at least. So.
Trial. Let me say trial.
I don't have any of her
also,
stuff.
Which is funny because if you go back on the right there, it's all the best pilots of the Jedi Order.
Yeah, right there. Yeah, it is supposedly.
Now Lego, she has no Lego figure. This is the crazy, and even crazier. She's not in the new Lego game either. This image is from the Lego Star Wars, the complete saga, the original. I'm lying to you. This is from Lego Star Wars 3, the Clone Wars. This is the only time we've had her.
Damn. Just did her wrong. Can't even give her a Lego, man. Let's go.
Just the one from the 3rd video game that no one really played too much. Pretty bad, honestly. Not much in terms of her toys and all that. Not even a Clone Wars 2008 figure either.
And this is it. These are the only 2 that she came in?
That's the only 2 she came in. If you
No
want the one
I don't have it.
The red lightsaber, you go for a left.
Does the red lightsaber come out of her chest? That's how she died.
Man. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much her story. Like, I don't know. And unfortunately, like, they can't do anything about it. She kind of suddenly escaped the Order because, like we said, she got gored in the stomach by a horned man, so she died. I mean, how many Jedi? We should really look into that. Like, how many Jedi did they actually show die? Not like off camera, not like you see a body, but actually we know who they are and they died before Order 66. Like, I don't know. It can't be a large list.
That would be a super special episode then.
Yeah, we're gonna do that for the when we get to 100,000 followers or something like that. We'll do that. Promise. And for the million, we're going to do the Christmas special.
No, the Christmas special is happening 2023. It is confirmed. There's no waiting even longer for that.
All right, well, that's Miss Gallia. All kinds of different ways to say her name. She's pretty cool. And it's really weird because like she had, to me, she had a great story. She was in a lot of stuff. She was well respected. She was helping out, well-rounded Jedi, and they literally just gave her an honest death. Like there were no shenanigans. And it was one of the brutal deaths. She got a bad death, but she got an honest warrior's death, and I did appreciate that.